Hi, good morning everybody. This is Jean here. I have finished my lovely hanky pillow. As you can see, my lovely ruffled cushion. Oh, it's turned out so pretty. It's turned out so pretty. I really love it. One vintage hanky, a little bit of muslin, and I made a lovely envelope closure backing, as you can see, like that, to put my pillow form in. And this video now is showing you how I did a little tiny bit of free motion quilting. It's not quilting, it's just a little free motion quilting to, again, just to secure my little hanky down, even though it's how many layers, 3 or 4 or 5 layers of stabilizing my hanky, which you can see on my playlist, how I've actually, from start to beginning, how I've selected the fabric for my lovely frill. It's really very girly. It's so pretty, I love it. But what you can do with vintage hankies or vintage linens, even if you had like an embroidered pillowcase, you could do like strips of that lovely pretty embroidery. Sometimes they had little poodles or little lovely florals. Just you could do like quite a few strips and do the exact same method to highlight those bits of embroidery or lace. But this is my lovely little cushion that's going to go on our master bed. I think it's so pretty. I did choose the yellow, and it picks up the yellow of my vintage tablecloth quilt that is on our bed. So I do hope you enjoy the rest of this tutorial. I had fun making this. I was harkening back to our daughter's lovely little frilly dresses. I love it. So many people were saying they have a ruffle attachment on their machine. I'm sure I have one. I don't know where it is. I just did it like I did it. I like the way I do my ruffles. That's 3 times the amount, which I think is just right. I think that's so pretty. So I hope you enjoy the rest of this tutorial, folks, and thanks again. I have some plans coming up for a project, so stay tuned to my channel. All right, see you everybody. Hope you enjoy the video. Bye-bye. Before I start putting the backing on my lovely cushion here, my envelope closing, I want to first do a free motion quilting stitch on my hanky. Now that's not necessary. That's not necessarily necessary because we have stabilized this hanky, which is vintage, which is maybe 40, 50, 60 years old, and it is very fragile, but we have stabilized it, and there is literally now 4. There's the hanky, the interfacing, the muslin, and then this piece of backing here, the muslin to stabilize it. And it's really quite nice and substantial there. But I still want to just highlight this, not quilt it, because if I was quilting something, I would actually put a piece of batting in and a backing. I'm not doing that, but I do want to just stabilize this a little bit more. Now, that is not necessary if you are making a hanky pillow like that. You could just use the stabilizer and the interfacing. Now what I have done, I'm going to do a test run on my Juki. This is a TL 2200 QVP Mini, and everybody asks, oh, I love your roses. I get these are rub-on decals from a place called www.urbanelements.com. They're called rub-on decals. They're called tattoos. I'll put the link below. Now what I'm going to be doing, this is a mechanical machine, it's not computerized. I'm going to do free motion quilting, so I'm going to set my stitch length to 0, all right? And then all I'm going to be doing is my feed dogs, these little teeth here are up, they're grabbing my fabric. I'm just going to switch my machine, and I've dropped them. So now my needle is just going up and down. I do have, let me put this, let me make it a little closer. I do have on my machine a free motion quilting foot with a circular toe, okay, like that. I've threaded my machine regularly, and I have just pulled up the bobbin thread. Now I'm going to do this with 4 layers because that's what my pillow has. So I just have a scrap piece of material, and I always just want to do a test scrap for my free motion quilting. Now if you remember, the free motion quilting, my needle is just going up and down. I'm going to pull the bottom thread up. There's tension here, but there's no stitch length, okay? Now I'm going to press my presser foot, and the thing with free motion quilting is to try to keep your stitches the exact same size. Now, when you're starting out, I'll leave my needle down. When you're starting out, your tendency is to be, oh, you're going to have a stitch that goes up, long, and then, oh, no, where do you go? So it takes a lot of practice. My go-to is, I always say to start in, well, if you know cursive, to start sewing your name. Now, let me just take this over here. I should be doing this in should be doing this in a different color thread, but I will show you up close. Now, my name is Jean. I'll pull my bobbin thread up. Let that release and bring it up. And that way, when you bring up your bobbin thread, you don't have those little nasty birds nest at the bottom. Now, my name is Jean. I'm just going to come down here, and I'm just going to sew in cursive my name. J E A N. Now, take that off, and I'll do a close-up for you. Hopefully, let me just see if you can see this. I'm looking through the viewfinder. Can you see that? Probably not. I can't see it. I'm looking through the viewfinder. Anyway, trust me, it says Jean. And I know now that the front and the back of my piece, the stitching is really quite lovely. Again, I'm sorry I should have done that with dark thread, but believe me when I say it's really nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring my pillow over, my pillow top. I'm going to make sure it's all evened out right here. I'm just going to start in the corner. Now, I'm not going to be doing the entire pillow top, but hanky, real close. I just want to sort of more secure it. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on this daisy here. I probably won't go into this white area here, but I'm just going to do the daisy just around. Again, you won't be able to see this necessarily, but trust me, I don't have to do every petal. I'll just go around that one. It's just securing my hanky. I'm just going to come into this rose. Again, it's maybe literally every inch or so, maybe every half inch. Here. Maybe right here I would make, and I'll show you when it's done because you can't see it. I will make a little daisy. In the middle. Let's see. I'll just come over here and I'll just finish up this side. And sort of back where I came from. Now again, you can't see that because it's just decorative stitching, but maybe if I can hone in on this without it going fuzzy. Let me see where I'm looking at. Maybe you can see that little daisy I just did there. Just a little bit of interest when you actually look at it. And now that hanky is really, let me pull back here, sorry. Oops, pulling in. That hanky is really secure on my fabric there. Okay, now I'm going to go over and do the backing. Here's my lovely pretty cushion cover. And here is the fabric that I chose, but as I was unwrapping this, I have to show you what happened. Oh my word. Remember I said I like to use the large florals sometimes for a border? Well, that's obviously what I did with this fabric here, this yellow, because look how I put it back on my card. You see that? I actually cut, if I remember correctly now, for a yellow quilt that I had made, I actually cut this into strips for a border for the floral. You see that? That's why it's done like this. This is all the fabric I have. This is the only width I have. And I was looking at it and I thought, oh my word, I have to go press this, obviously. I thought, oh my word, is it going to fit? And look at this. I'll put this, we just see put the ruffle in. And I couldn't have worked that out any better. Oh, it's a little small. Oh my, it's a little bit small. You seeing what I'm seeing? The width is, actually, that's okay. That's okay. So, and I know it's exactly the same the entire way. So I'm going to cut these pieces, then I'm going to iron them. And I'm going to show you how I make the envelope closing. So what I've done is I've cut 2 pieces of my fabric about 30 inches long by, it's not quite 20 inches, and that's going to reflect in the seam, but I'll come to that. It'll be okay because it'll be in the inside seam. What I've done is I've ironed these as best I can like this. I have 2 pieces by 20 by 30, say. I could have made it maybe perhaps a little bit bigger, but you'll see how I do my envelope. So what we're going to do is, here is my pillow form right here, and the back of my pillow is going to look like this. There's going to be a fold here, and the raw edges are here, and there's going to be a fold there with the raw edges here. So I can just open this up and slip my pillow cushion inside, okay? Like that. There's no buttons. I could make it like a button closure. I could go all fancy. I don't do that because it's the back of it anyway. But just so you remember, the 2 folds go in the middle. Now, take this away, and I'm going to grab my actual pillow here, and I'm going to tuck all of the ruffles to this inside, just so I have it, the raw edges out. Being careful not to have it all folded up in the corners. Like that. Okay? And my raw edges. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the bit that's a little bit short here. It's okay. I'm going to put the fold up there that way, like that. One fold goes that way. It will make sense once it's on the pillow. Really pull it out like so. And then I'll put the other fold into the middle and match up the seams there. Now obviously, as you can see, I'm going to come along and I'm going to clip this. I'm going to clip this. I'm doing the right sides of the fabric, the correct side of the fabric to the correct side of my pillow. Okay, there's a fold up there. There's a fold down here. That's what makes the envelope closing, okay? Now I'm going to come along and I'm going to clip this, and I'm going to go over to my machine, and it's very simple at this point. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch all the way around. Now, what am I going to do? From this fold here to this fold here, I'm going to do that like 4 or 5 times, because that's where, when you're shoving a pillow form into your casing here, that's going to be a lot of stress. That's going to be an awfully lot of stress. So I go over it and over it and over it and over it. And then also what I do is I don't do a squared corner. I'll be very careful when I get to that ruffle, and I'll just sort of slightly curve my ruffles. Instead of having those like big dog ears on a pillow, I have a curved square. I like my curved squares. That's how I do my quilts also. So I'm not going to come here, put my needle down, and come back straight. I'm just going to make sure my ruffle is out of the way. So make sure my ruffle is out of the way. And I'm just going to continue my curve, just a small curve right around. Being sure that with this I'm going to, my raw edges here, my ruffle, I'm going to go in about maybe more like 1/4 of an inch where the ruffle is. So the ruffle is going to be slightly smaller, but I'm going to do that all the way around, again coming to this end, and making sure I'm reinforcing that stitching there. So I'm at my machine, and I've replaced my free motion quilting foot with my regular foot. I've put my stitched length to about a 2. I like it a little bit of a smaller, and I've obviously raised the feed dogs. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start. This is the edge I'm going to be reinforcing. I'm going to start not in this corner. I'm going to make sure, as you can see, I have all of my layers together. Put my needle down, and I'm making sure that where my stitching was, as you can see, I went around the corner on that curve there. I'm just a little bit inside that ruffle, but my ruffle is nice and straight in underneath there. Now I'm going to just start sewing slowly because I'm going through a lot of fabric, and you can't feel this, but even though this is just a little throw pillow decorative, it's really nice and substantial because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of fabric, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7 layers of fabric, let alone with the ruffle. As you can see, I'm catching my ruffle, keeping it nice and make sure that the ruffle's not getting caught up or my backing is not getting caught up. I like these clips for this, only because I just found them. I went down in my basement and I found them. Now I'm coming to my curve at my corner, and even though it's a square, as you can see that, I've curved that ruffle onto there. And I'm just going, I can feel it with my fingers, I'm just going to make sure that my ruffle's out of the way, which it is, and I'm just going to curve that corner of my cushion, like so. I'm coming back up here. Now I will check this to make sure everything's okay. Now this is where, at this point, this is where my one fold is. This is where I want to start back stitching, and I will go over this many times to make sure my cushion cover is really nice and secure. So that's just the first time I'll do it, and I'll just continue stitching my backing, my envelope backing on. So here's my lovely cushion cover with the lovely envelope style backing, as you can see. And as you can see, I really make that generous. That's why I need to have it secured there. There's no raw seams there. I've kept my, it's a bit of a lump, but I've kept them there for the reason I'm going to be putting my pillow form in here, as you can see. Now I start here, and I really just scrunch that. I scrunch the form more than I pull the pillow. I'm pulling down the other one, like so. Oh, so pretty, so pretty. And then there, oh look, there we have my lovely cushion. Ah, so pretty. Yeah, so very pretty. Love it. And I don't know if you can see, just come up a little bit closer, the actual lovely Just the stitching I did there. Again, it's not quilted, it's just secured. How I made my ruffles. And again, you can't feel, but that's really a very substantial, lovely little cushion right there. So I hope you enjoyed this, folks. I love it. All right, let's see what it looks like on our bed.